My personal favorite point-and-click adventure is Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. I always loved the franchise Steve and George created, and you can clearly see that kind of love in this game. Look at this box art from the year 1992. You can't get this with digital downloads nowadays. But yeah, kids, I am quite old already. So first, let me show you the result and see for yourself if it somehow invokes the feeling you had when you played this game. All including the famous Indiana Jones color-cycled splash banner and pixel art pre-credits roll.
All right, Sophia. Now, what kind of interesting notes did you find in the officer's mess?
Mr. Jones, after you were sleeping off our romantic moment, I searched the quarters for clues what occult artifacts they were looking for.
And that's why we steered the boat to Sicily?
Yes, Indy. They were looking for the biblical artifact called the Ring of Solomon.
Ridiculous. This does not exist. This was always a bedtime story my father told me just before I went to sleep.
You said the same thing about Atlantis, and you did not believe me then.
Okay. Well, while we are here anyway, we can at least have some fish and chips.
A typical Indiana Jones adventure game or movie is not complete without a map showing the flight to Barnett College that is fictionally located in New York. So here we go. The opening sequence with the banner and all had a cinematic feel, and in an aspect ratio that was not custom in these days. So let's show a typical Barnett College interaction between Indy and another character in something that looks like 320 by 200 pixels wide.
Ben, wait a minute.
What can I do for you?
You are exactly the one I need. I am a little bit rusty on my understanding of Hebrew. I'd hope you could help me with this ancient text. Here.
Let me see. Well, this talks about the Hotam Shlomo, meaning Ring of Solomon. Where did you find this?
Well, I didn't. Marcus did. He was a little bit hungry, actually. Probably he got lost in his own library for days.
A typical Marcus, brilliant man, but a little bit absent-minded from time to time. This manuscript tells about the immense powers the bearer of the ring possesses. It gives the power to command demons, genies, and the ability to talk to animals.
Demons. That's why the Axis are so interested in possessing this ring.
I even made a special gradient points editor to be able to produce the pixel art scaling map used in the Fate of Atlantis and other LucasArts games. I was inspired by the way how many of the adventure game studio games handles these. As I looked into the assets that came along with the exported games, I saw that they used a grayscale gradient map. The points that I plotted in the editor are interpolated into the scaling map. When exported, the gradient map has the same aspect ratio as the source image, but is much, much smaller. It does not need more pixels than there is needed to look up the scaling. The scaling value is looked up and corresponds to the position the walkable character is in. It works surprisingly well, I might say. The professor character that is called Ben was a new pixel art character generated with Civit AI. The bobbing head and mouth animation is still something that I needed to do myself. And as I am a better coder than being an artist, this did not lead to the quality talk animation I was hoping for. If I compare it to the ripped sprite sheet from the real Fate of Atlantis game, trademarked of course. But I'm not complaining, as this is way better than I could produce from scratch. I know that a bunch of pixel artists are mad at people that use AI tools to make this. But as I am a single army hobby developer, I cannot afford to pay an artist. I strongly believe that professional pixel art artists still can keep their job, as it's far superior than generated a bunch of characters. But AI tools like Stable Diffusion and others are not going away. And I am planning to make a pixel art model sourced from the 60-plus pixel art characters I hand-drawn myself in the last 3 years. And this is something what graphical artists could do to make the volume of work that is expected to be in a game. I promise this devlog to be some sort of demonstration how I was able to create LucasArts style pixel art characters and matching backgrounds. So here we go. I was wondering if I could make a Qui-Gon Jedi character in LucasArts style, as I happen to know that LucasArts did not create a point-and-click adventure similar to Fate of Atlantis for the Star Wars franchise. That is a shame, of course, although the action games are great, by the way. Another character I always wanted to create is Henry Jones, the annoying father of Indiana Jones. This character was in the Last Crusade point-and-click game, of course, but that was in very low resolution, so that could use some pimping. It is often a hit or a miss, especially if it turns out to turn into a close-up instead of a standing pose that I wanted initially. But that's because of the noise seed in the model's generation. This the way these models work. Let's speed things up a notch, because the Civit AI takes its time, especially the Flux models like the dig backgrounds. I settled with a nice LucasArts style rendering that has a good neutral pose and one that also has a great facial expression. Once in Pixaki, I tried to get rid of the hard edges that are sometimes on the character. What I learned by doing pixel art for quite some time is that light usually comes from above and causes a subtle rim light. For the character, these are the shoulders that would get some light. Adding a black bow tie makes him look quite like Henry Jones Sr. Eventually, I ended up pimping up the original pixel art character from The Last Crusade and transferred the palette from Indiana to Henry. I added an umbrella that became famous in the movie because he brought down an enemy airplane by scaring the birds. Those birds turned out to be fatal to the German pilot that fatally crashed into the flock of birds. If you haven't seen that scene, you should watch the clip, or better, the entire movie. You won't be disappointed. So after several attempts and prompt tweaks using the Civit AI tool, the tool generated quite a good-looking Star Wars Jedi character. So first thing to do now is to remove the background. There is a small gradient in the background that is not too hard for Photoshop with the Smart Removal tool. I fixed some small issues, but it is evident that I should not go overboard with this, because I need to scale it down to manageable pixel sizes first. After that, I can use my favorite pixel art tool called Pixaki and make it look great. The nice thing about using a Mac is that it is easy to copy from the Mac to the Pixaki app. This way, I can make a blank canvas with the right pixel dimensions first, then copy on the Mac, and then hit paste in Pixaki. And behold, I can start tweaking. On my Tatooine planet, I wanted to replace the background with the sky of another render that looked much better. So I did some touch-up work in Photoshop. Also, the dome-shaped house had weird entrance, so that needed some love too. With the help of the generative capabilities in Photoshop, I could easily remove unwanted parts. The nice thing with this generative process is that it gives you 3 options to choose from. There is always one that suits the scene, and otherwise you can always regenerate again. Well, let's see the final resulting scene with a well-known Sith Lord. And let's see how the scene looks like, with a background generated by the Flux model called the Dig Background Art LucasArts game. Indy and Henry talk with each other, as they are located at the residence of retired professor called Henry Jones Sr.
Dad, I need your excellent biblical knowledge of religious artifacts. What do you happen to know about the Ring of Solomon?
So you finally agree that there might be some truth to all these bedtime stories. Legend says that the demon disguised as King Solomon acquired the ring, and Solomon lost his throne. Somehow, the ring returned to him when he came to his senses again. It is believed that the ring was buried in his royal grave. Some centuries later, some grave robber stole the ring from the grave and sold it to a rich merchant. This merchant gave it to his wife, that was able to use its power somehow.
How did she loose the ring?
Often she talked and gained a lot of useful information by talking to the crows. However, one time she forgot to give them breadcrumbs. One crow was very angry and pulled off the ring when she was asleep in the valley. From then on, the ring was never found again. Probably it is on the bottom of the sea.
It seems like a dead end to me.
So, that wraps it up for now. Please hit the like and subscribe, as it helps me stay motivated to make these nice videos. And join me again when I release a new devlog. The next devlog will be about the implementation of dialogues in point-and-click games. I will look back at the chat mapper format, as that was my choice to make dialogues possible in the game The Lost Adventures. Also, I will show you some old footage of the features the old dialogue web editor had. Great fun to see how I did this 12 years ago. It will also give me a bit of retrospection on the strengths and weaknesses of ChatMapper. I will also definitely show off the new way of supporting dialogues in PixelParody. The choice that I made was the open source ink format and Inky editor. Of course, I will show some funny dialogues in PixelParody without spoilers. Bye, and see you next time.